Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight we are continuing our review of She-Hulk Attorney at Law with episode 3. Are you ready to do this, Christopher? Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
All right. I am your host, Doc Rod, and joining me tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
You know, all I gotta say is bada yada 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 yada. Sorry, that's my horrible Megan Thee Stallion impersonation.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Of course, you are just back from Dragon Con this year, and you were on many panels.
Yes, and this shows you my dedication to this show. Is that I got in probably like 45 minutes ago, and I'm here doing the podcast right now.
After an 9-hour drive, yeah.
I know, and I've probably had 9 hours of sleep in the last 5 days.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I got to be on several panels on the horror track, doing like movies like Halloween 3 and The Thing, talking about that, and then I saw some amazing cosplays. I saw a few She-Hulks.
I
wish I'd taken a picture. They had one girl that she did like the half where she's green on one side and normal on the other side.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But yeah, I got to see a few of those. Yeah, all kinds of superhero cosplays. I saw the boys. One of them was Homelander, but he had these glasses that made his eyes glow like he's shooting lasers out of them.
Oh no.
But yeah, I saw some amazing stuff. I saw a lot of Everything Everywhere All at Once cosplays, and that was all I needed to see. Cosplay wise.
Do you see the fingers?
Yeah, they had some with the hot dog fingers. And actually, my favorite. I have two friends, Oz and Brian, that I met through Dragon Con. They did couples cosplay where she was a Rakakuni chef, and then he was one of the guys who had the trophy stuck up his butt.
Oh no!
So he's walking around with a trophy sticking out of his butt. So yeah, it was a great time. Got to party, got to see so many great people. Saw a lot of my filmmaker friends. Got to hang out with Crystal, from other podcasts, Gruesome, and Vanessa Wright, who's been on one of our podcasts. So yeah, it's a great time. If you've never been to Dragon Con, it'll spoil any other conventions you ever go to. It's like a 5-day Halloween party. So much fun. And now I'm going to be in this sort of dreary sadness trope moving from now.
Depression.
Yeah. It's like I have to go back to work tomorrow, and it's like I need a vacation away from the vacation. But yeah, so it's a fun time. I love going there every year. So.
All right. Well, we're here tonight to review She-Hulk episode 3, Attorney at Law, I should say. And what we're going to do is start off giving you our first impressions. That will be spoiler free, and then we're going to dive into a discussion. We will get into spoilers. In fact, I don't know, Christopher, did you have time to get together some?
I told you I am dedicated.
He is dedicated.
I have my top 10 right here.
That's amazing. So. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scenes. Let's take a look at the card and get things on the way. Season 1, we hope, episode 3, September 1st, 2022 on Disney Plus. The People versus Emil Blonsky. Of course, Tim Roth over there as Emil Blonsky, and he turns into the Abomination, if you didn't know. Directed by Kat Coro, written by Francesca Gales and Jacqueline Gales. Based on the characters created by Stan Lee and John Buscema. The cast includes Tatiana Maslany, Mark Ruffalo, who's not in this one, but I left his name in anyway. Ginger Gonzaga, Josh Segarra, Steve Coulter, Drew Matthews, Tim Roth, Benedict Wong, yes, and Peg O'Keefe, who has a fun role. Peg O'Keefe does. Synopsis is She-Hulk represents Emil Blonsky, a.k.a. the Abomination, but his parole hearing doesn't go as planned, as you would expect. All right, well, let's dive in with our first impressions. Christopher, what was your first impression of episode 3?
I had a blast with it. I mean, I'm really loving a lot of the fourth wall breaks. In this episode, I laughed about every time there was a fourth wall break. So they're doing a really great job of sort of incorporating these more and more, and being also just being extremely meta, to where that this character is pretty much cognizant of a lot of the stuff, to the point, and this isn't a spoiler, but there's one where she just points out that, like, there's not that we're gonna make sure there's not a lot of cameos on this show. The show's my show, and then she points out all the cameos so far. But yeah, it's and I think it's fun. The Emil Blonsky character, and also just some other characters that kind of pop up, and also just there's a cameo that makes adds a lot of humor to it. And now my new favorite end credit sequence that I was literally had tears coming out of my eyes. I was laughing so hard.
Yes.
Because it made me realize, I don't think many years ago, that what happens in an end credit scene that they would create for a Disney Plus show. But this is why I'm really excited about these shows. They're really sort of going out there and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, this is just an entertaining show. And I think you just can't, a lot of these people are, I guess, taking it too seriously. You're thinking it needs to be within this sort of normal format that we have a lot of these MCU movies and shows about. And I think this is having a lot of fun with the format. And I think a lot of shows, it's getting better once all that introductory stuff gets out of the way, and we just go straight into the show and meeting these characters, and also the new characters are popping up, and how the storyline's going on, and how her character, she's trying to sort of come to grips of, like, okay, I'm the She-Hulk. How do I do this? I can't continue thinking I'm just going to be somebody who nobody's going to notice anymore. I'm going to have to deal with this. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, if you've seen like any information, Wong pops up. So it was great to see Wong, and it's really great to see how his character, he's really no different than Doctor Strange.
No different.
It's everybody gives crap to Doctor Strange about having an ego, but Wong has his own ego. And but yeah, I'm enjoying the show so far, and I love almost like the meta commentary that happens on the show. Almost reflects a lot of the commentary that people throw about this show.
It does.
And it's kind of interesting. It's almost like commenting on the comments that people make. So yeah, I think it's really starting to hit its stride with the humor and the characters, and Tatiana Maslany. I just love her in this role so much, because you can see that she's having just a great time in that role, and also just seeing her arc as her character. So yeah, I love this episode.
Yeah, I love it too. We're 3 in, 6 more to go. It's going to be exciting. Of course, this weekend, as we're recording, we're going to get D23. So we might have a lot of news about other stuff next week.
Whoa.
So I'm talking about, yeah, it's going to be crazy. And of course, one thing, the cameo is not an MCU cameo. I'll tease that. All right. I'm loving this, of course. The She-Hulk is a fun character. I love the breaking the fourth wall stuff like you. I think Tatiana is doing a more than she's better than the role deserves. She is, you know what I mean? That sounds awful, but she's bringing more to this than probably was written, and I love it. I love the supporting cast as well, and of course having Tim Roth was a blast in this, and so was Benedict Wong as Wong. And yeah, it's basically, I think, is Wong maybe the most loved character right now in all of MCU? Does everybody want Wong to show up? There's some fun stuff in here. Of course, it's part 2 of last episode. You could say. I mean, it's not really necessarily, but it is connected in tissue. Mm-hmm. And it also has a fun little hint toward future things to come toward the end, and also has a bit of a reflection on the Hulk, and there was a pun in there. You'll see what we mean here shortly, but but I did enjoy it, and I am looking forward to more. And of course, I can't wait to get into all the spoilers, starting off with the Easter eggs. Sir, are you ready to give us your top 10 Easter eggs?
Sure. Here's the top 10 that I sort of looked through all the stuff and saw things that sort of interested me. The first one is an Easter egg that we actually see in a lot of Disney movies and shows.
Oh.
When Jen enters the laser doorway, if you look over to the right, there's an A113 on the wall. And do you know what A113 stands for?
No, I don't. What is it?
Okay. You can find it in every Pixar movie. It's in a lot of the MCU movies. It's also in just other films as well, a lot of animation films, mainly because it's a number known for it's actually a room in the California Institute of the Arts. It's the classroom used by graphic design and character animation students. You know, students maybe here's a few students. I don't know if you know who these people are. John Lasseter, Brad Bird, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's more, yeah, it's more of a running joke by a lot of the people who are actually alumni of that school. And so because that was a room that was very important to them, they started including ever since, the first Toy Story movie. So you'll see it pop up. So I think after telling you, you'll probably go back and watch some films, and there's like I think it's on like a license plate in one of the Toy Story movies, and it's just it pops up all over the place. So anytime that I see it, I like ooh 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 ooh. Like that what's his name? The meme where he's looking at it.
Yes.
Anyway, there's one where Jen's paralegal is looking at Benedict Wong's LinkedIn account. So LinkedIn is a thing in this universe, and superheroes use them. So, but anyway, if you pay attention, on Jen's LinkedIn, the only mutual she has is with Bruce Banner. So Bruce Banner kind of turns up in this, just name wise. But if you look at his employment history, it says he's currently the Sorcerer Supreme. He was a librarian at the Comertage for 11 years. And he was a Target sales associate for 9 years.
9 years at Target.
So who knew? So, you might have, bought some shorts from the future Sorcerer Supreme. Let's see. We get this light elf character from Asgard.
Yes.
And there's a part where she tries to plead her case by saying Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And do we know where we've heard that before? It's actually several characters said it in Thor Ragnarok. So because I even I think Odin, Thor, and Heimdall actually say it at one point or another. Yes. So anyway, it's a nice little callback, but that judge isn't taking it. It was much more dramatic in the other Thor movie. Let's see. There's one point where one of the reporters says, "Any truth to the rumor you got your powers from a mafia hit gone wrong?" Which is it's actually a reference to what actually happened in the comics. Actually, in the 1980 She-Hulk comic, she was actually shot, and that's why Bruce had to give her a blood transfusion, is because of being shot in a mafia shootout. Let's see. This is a weird thing, but the gang of people that try to beat her up.
Yes.
One of them is named Thunderball.
Yes.
And they're all wearing W's on their t-shirts because I guess you don't care about being noticed. And they're actually they're known as the Wrecking Crew. And so so they're a supervillain gang called the Wrecking Crew, which if people that know the comics, and then they mentioned their boss is going to be mad, and so I guess we're all trying to figure out who this specific boss will be.
Boss, yes.
Because in the comics they've had Red Hood was their boss in one of the comics. I think Baron Zemo was their boss in other comics. Some people think it might be Wilson Fisk. He might be trying to do that because some people think that because he was so super powered in the what was the TV show?
The Hawkeye show. Yeah.
Hawkeye show. because he seemed very much super powered. Some people think he's got like that serum that Captain America used or something, and that maybe he might be wanting to use her blood to, create Hulk gangs for him. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it turns out. But now we have the question: is who is this infamous boss person? But it is kind of funny that because that gang, one of the guys had like a super powered crowbar.
Yes, he does.
They're really a silly villain gang. But they're actually using all weapons from I didn't realize that Asgardian construction workers have enchanted weapons. Which
Of course they would.
I guess that's Asgard for you. There's one of the news reports where they show a pic of Emil Blonsky, and they basically just took a frame from 2008's Incredible Hulk movie where he's in a scene, and they just cut him out and they put him in there. So that's nice how they don't even try to create a new pic or anything. It just takes something from one of the previous movies. Let's see. There's also another TV show interview where they interview a guy named Gideon Wilson, which is in the comics was the brother of Falcon, Sam Wilson. So I guess we'll see if that means anything, because if they throw that up there and throw that name, Marvel's like, this is going to be referenced to something.
I was going to say, they're not doing it by accident. Yep.
Yeah. And he was actually the prosecutor that put Emil Blonsky in jail. So let's see. There's the one part where Jen's old co-worker, the sexist, the majorly sexist co-worker who's so full of himself, and this other woman comes in and they ask if she wants to take on the case, and she says no. That is Mallory Book, who in the comics is she actually showed up in Dan Slott's She-Hulk #1. She's in the comics she was a former beauty queen nicknamed the face who never lost a case. And in the comics she later blamed Jen for an accident that put her in a wheelchair, and she started representing supervillains just to irritate her. So I guess we'll see if they play out that kind of storyline, or I'm sure them including her, they're going to do something with that, And I think the actress that plays that is actually from Hamilton. I think the actress plays it.
Oh, wow, okay.
If you pay attention to the light elf who has the ability to transform, her transformation is the same as what Loki does when he transforms and trying to impersonate somebody. So she has those same type of powers. And last but not least, a lot of the recent Disney Plus Marvel shows, it would not be an episode without a QR code popping up.
That's right.
If you look at Pug's screen right below the little video that he's watching of the light elf transforming, there's a QR code that will pull up a She-Hulk comic. So, but anyway, those are the 10. There's a few that's in. And also, I know you made a reference to that there was a pun. There was a pun where this guy's like, yeah, I'd smash her or whatever. And that's a little pun because Hulk's famous line is smash.
Yes.
But with her, it's him saying, I'll smash you, being saying their little sexist banter. So anyway, those are my top 10 Easter eggs.
Yeah. The reflection pun was at the end when she looks in the car window and sees herself and has a moment of self-awareness, which I thought was really well done. I thought it was an interesting way to do that because she gets jumped. She's going from her car to her apartment, and as she's going down the back alley for her car, from her car to the house, she gets jumped by the wrecking crew. And of course, she realizes, I don't have to take this. I'm the She-Hulk.
She's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I know. But then in the end, she looks at the car window and sees herself, and then kind of contemplates what it all means. And
it actually, it's a callback to the very first episode where she barely sees herself in the reflection of the car.
All right. Well, I thought that was great. I thought it was handled really well, and the look on her face and everything. And there's a lot of fun things happening in and out this. Now,
let me say there is one big Easter egg, and that's Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to talk about the cameo because our the attorney that worked with Jennifer Walters, not Waters, but Walters, thought he was dating Megan Thee Stallion.
Megan Thee Stallion.
And it turned out to just be the.
Well, I think that's what, again, that's the whole meta nature of the show in general, or whatever. And when they mentioned it, I didn't think that. I thought it was just a contemporary joke or something.
Right.
And then later on, when you see her in the courtroom, it creates a laugh because, oh my God,
there she is,
Megan Thee Stallion. And then, because she's part of the end credit sequence, I never thought that they would be working these CGI people hard to have She-Hulk twerking.
I know,
in an episode.
It's kind of crazy.
I was like, can you imagine Kevin Feige? I want to make sure that She-Hulk twerks.
And he's. I wonder if they even told Kevin's like. I wonder. Kevin's like.
I don't know that.
Or you think it was Kevin's idea?
Well, no, I don't. I know. I just think it's very funny. I know. Yeah, I don't think if you told me several years ago we'd see like one of these characters twerking, and I would have laughed at you. I was like, that's not going to happen. But yeah, this is happening, and it made for extremely funny to seeing her dance with Megan Thee Stallion.
He was also twerking, so
yeah, they were both twerking, and then Megan Thee Stallion. I mean, she's a rapper that cracks me up anyhow because she has that. She does this thing where she sticks her tongue out. Like, she does that in her songs, and to where I'll end up just doing that a bit for no reason, and it's just an entertaining person that very confident in herself and stuff. So yeah, I love that kind of aspect. I mean, I guess Deadpool kind of did that a little bit too when they have references to certain people, but that's great. They're doing that they're really leaning into it. I was thinking the other day, it'll be interesting to see if they try other kind of tricks with like creating what's in the comics. They have the breaking the fourth wall, but like they have a lot of times she would actually walk from one panel to another in the comics. And I'd be interesting to see if she like walks from one set to another. If they do that, that'd be awesome.
They could do that.
As a filmmaker, I would try to do that. So we'll see if they're going to do that. But yeah, I love the I don't know. I mean, this show definitely has a goofiness about it that I love, and it's something I wish they'd embrace a little bit more. I mean, I guess we've gotten that some of the movies like Ragnarok and even Guardians of the Galaxy, we get a little bit of that. Because that light elf is
different,
just,
right?
Yeah, the light elf is just like,
she gets 60 days for impersonating the judge. We find out who the mysterious 7 people are that are.
It wasn't what we thought.
It wasn't what we thought at all. We were like going way out there, and it's just
way off. No, he has his little sort of
little cult,
polyamorous cult going on there. His little Manson, Charles Manson women.
Yeah, and he's got it all set up.
Yeah, which if you they added in the end credits is the the artistic drawings and stuff. There's one where they're like, oh, they're all cheering because he's getting to leave prison in a bus.
Yep, in a bus. I thought it was hilarious. It was like, and the way he names them all off, Yvonne.
Well, and I again, I think Tim Roth is really great in that role because I don't think he was allowed. I mean, the Hulk movie he was in, he's a very serious character.
He was very serious,
and here he gets to lean into it, even to the point like I don't know if you paid attention when he becomes Abomination. He leans down to get his little Crocs and moves them over. like it's baby doll clothes or something. And it's like all very dainty. This big ass dude.
Everybody's screaming and yelling, and I'm in the table. I gotta ask you,
what
do you think that Emil Blonsky would have actually been awarded his parole given the circumstances? I mean, did they do a good job on the courtroom part of it, or does it matter?
What? When did you start putting logic into MCU?
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, we had Wanda, gave post-traumatic, stress disorder to a whole town. I mean, you know, a lot of the, I mean, if you think about all the time superheroes like bust shit up in everywhere and cause havoc, you know, I mean, if you look at like Multiverse of Madness, that big monster in the middle of the road and all the damage that happened.
Yes, yes. Yes.
I mean, you think they, I mean,
they smashed the side of a building as they were climbing up it. No.
But I mean, but at the same time, I mean, I can sort of understand that, you know, the government is the one that sort of did this to him, you know, and he was just following orders, and so
he's just a puppet.
I can sort of that, but again, this is, I mean, if you really want to throw some crazy logic, that the judge, like, you only have diplomatic immunity inside of Asgard.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. So to me, that was the only thing that didn't make sense to me, because that's like saying like you'd only have diplomatic immunity if you lived in France. You usually have diplomatic immunity when you go to other places,
not in the places you come from. Yes.
So that was the only thing that threw me. But yeah, no, I mean, this is movie judge. This is movie law.
Yes, it is movie law.
You can't really put any kind of logic in that. Although I did find it funny when Wong was like, hey, should we throw him in the mirror dimension, or
she's like, I don't know.
He's talking about like what, you know, what he should do with Emil Blonsky.
Speaking of Blonsky, do you think we're going to see more of him and the Abomination in this series?
Well, if you've watched the trailers, of course we are.
I wasn't going to go there, but
I mean, they've already kind of set that up, because they mentioned that he wants to create like a health
retreat
or whatever, and so we do know just from like little snippets we've seen that there's like some kind of help group, I guess, for people and their mental issues, because and it would be kind of interesting to see, you know, who Emil Blonsky worked with to sort of do what Bruce has also been able to do, and being able to control that. And if there's been people in his life, whether it was the government or like, you know, even like,
or Wong, even right?
or the leader, if that person.
Well, okay, so I'm glad you mentioned him, because he is also a candidate for who hired the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, I think I actually had that. Yeah, I had it down there. I forgot to mention it. Yep. And because we do know that the movies kind of exist, even though they made a joke of it, they're like, I was a whole different person back then. I mean, they could bring that actor back for that role, right?
Yep, they certainly set it up in the end of the movie, so we would love to see that pay off. And this is going to be in another movie, so She-Hulk is where it's going to be, and the leader has appeared in many She-Hulk comic book. So,
well, I mean, who knew we see Emil Blonsky back? You know?
Oh, that's great! That's great. And he's got the ears finally.
Although I think somebody had made the huge weird connection to saying it might be, what's it, Frogman? What is Frogman? What is? Isn't there? I think somebody mentioned that possibly, is it Frogman?
What about Frogman?
Isn't there a superhero named Frogman?
There is a superhero named Frogman, and he's going to be coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. So because he supposedly is going to pop up in this series, or at least what we've seen little pieces of. Some people thought that he might actually be the person who hired the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah,
but I think that seems, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm just saying that what I'd seen on some of that when I was looking through Easter egg stuff.
Well, I guess it could be as good as candidate as anybody else, and we'll find out in the next 6 episodes. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give it our final thoughts. Our score 1 to 5 actually. And our favorite scene. Christopher, why don't you start us off?
I think the show's really hitting its stride. And I think some people weren't really liking a lot of the fourth wall breaks, I guess, so just online reviewers and stuff. But I think this episode works really well, and I think also because the comics always kind of pointed out even like issues with the story and stuff. And there's one of my favorite like fourth wall breaks is when she's like, when the Pug, I think his name's Pug or whatever,
Pug,
when he comes and and they talk about like his thing, and she goes like, resolving the B story.
Yes,
and,
yes.
and I laughed so hard. So yeah, and I'm really loving her character. I'm really sort of, I think the show is really hitting its stride, and I think with her character finally having more confidence in the new person that she is and using that to her advantage. Um, we get that nice little fight towards the end too. We get a little bit of see a little bit of action, so it's not all about just law or courtroom proceedings. And they definitely have the most sexist character I've ever seen in the MCU with that her coworker guy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the show so far. I'm really interested to see where it goes. I mean, it'd be great to see a lot more cameos from different people. I mean, we don't necessarily have to have like other music artists or anything. Like, look, it's Lady Gaga. But I think the Megan Thee Stallion joke really worked well for this episode and added that extra crazy humor because I didn't see it coming. I was like, surely they're not going to get Megan Thee Stallion this episode. I thought it was just a throwaway reference, and so it was what is a Chekhov's stallion, I guess. We'll cover that this episode. So I don't know. I think I'm going to give this a 4.25. I kind of enjoyed this more than the first two, because the humor was really hitting well for me. And I am kind of intrigued to see where a lot of these storylines go actually after this, especially if they kind of explain where Hulk is going and other things that are happening. As for favorite scene, I think it's pretty obvious.
You're gonna pick, yeah.
I'm gonna pick the twerking scene in the credits because I was literally because I was at DragonCon, but I didn't make sure to watch it. I had to watch it on my phone because my internet was crappy in my hotel room. But and I was laughing so hard I was crying. I don't know, it just tickled me. I was like, I was not expecting that, and it was just so entertaining. And then just the thought that these guys creating the special effects had to create She-Hulk twerking, and that just maybe cracked me up even more because the crazy magic these people have to create for shows. They're creating laser beams and transformations, and it's like I can only imagine them saying, hey, today we want you to make her twerk in her suit. So I don't know. So and that's like that's what you want. You want them to just have a little fun, and I think what's important about this show is they're having fun.
Yeah, they are having fun. I'm enjoying this as well quite a bit, and I'm eager to see. Well, I'm looking forward to the next 6 episodes for certain, but I'm already thinking beyond that. I can't wait to see her, in other properties. Like showing up in some of the Avengers movies and whatnot, the crossover movies. It's going to be a lot of fun having her interact with other superheroes. I mean, we're going to get a couple in the series. We know of a certain one that's going to be showing up, another lawyer. But
he's a very good lawyer, by the way.
He's a very good lawyer, and it was on #1 at the box office, at least the movie this past week. Again, after so many months. Yes, I'm enjoying this quite a bit, and I think Tatiana just really is embracing it, and I think a lot of how this show works and affects you as an audience is because of her and her timing and her just I don't know, her sensibilities, just the way she behaves, and I think this episode more than the first two, that her actions are translating into the character more. They're starting to get more of her into it. We talked about the CGI was a little rough when we saw the trailers, and then we've kind of accepted it in the show, and it's fine. It doesn't have to be 100%. It's working. It's working, right? Or twerking in this case. But there's especially during during like where she tries to do the news thing where she goes on and they really captured her facial expressions, and I'm really enjoying her in this role above all else. And of course, Tim Roth and Benedict Wong, of course, is a wonderful addition. Hopefully we see both of them again in further episodes. So I'm gonna give it 4.25 as well. I was going to give it a 4, but I'm going to give it a 4.25 because it really is finding its own identity, and that's important, right? It's growing into its own terms. I think there's some things they need to grow still, but at the same time, I'm enjoying this as much, if not more, than the previous MCU shows. I've enjoyed each and every one of them in different ways, and I think that's really strong too. And how are they going to continue doing that in the future is interesting. But definitely looking forward to the next 6 episodes and where this will take our character. And if the leader will show up, come on. I've set myself up. He's the nightmare for this episode. It's not going to be a leader. My favorite scene is what's it going to be? I want to go with this scene, but then I kind of don't. But it's the wrecking crew scene.
I was sorry to say if that was
Yeah, it's just because she goes, "Oh wait," right, and then she hulks out and then she goes, "Get off of me!" And the way she handled that first guy, and then of course that they the wrecking crew is a group of villains that started in Thor, so there is an Asgardian connection to them. I think if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong about this, that they actually got their original powers from Loki to battle Thor. Yeah. So it makes sense that they're having Asgardian weapons. But they're so dorky in here. They're not dorky in the comics. They're definitely badasses. Well, they were meant to be. They were meant to be. They were meant to be. Let's put it that way. But the Wrecker's gone toe to toe. For whatever reason, because all he has is that crowbar. But anyway, that aside, that is our only action scene. Really, right? That's our only action scene. And I will say that I didn't miss it not having action in this. And I didn't really realize that was our only action scene until you mentioned it earlier in this podcast.
Well, that and she's not the Hulk a lot of the movie either. She's herself,
Which is kind of ironic because they wanted her to be this because they want her to be the Hulk, the face of but she can't be the Hulk inside the prison.
So she's got to be herself, which save the CGI guys a little bit more. It's and I love. I mean, I think the best part of her personality is just how. I love how because you have the part like you mentioned where she's like, oh wait, and there's also a part where when they're interviewing her at the very end. And they said, come up next. We're going to ask her about her workout and diet. And she's like, wait, what?
Sorry, what?
And I just love that where she always has these thoughts that she interjects, out of the blue. And, because she's always like, especially when she's like doing stuff and she's you can see the terror of things aren't going this way, or like when she's waiting for Wong and stuff. And the way she does that role just works so well and adds so much humor to that role.
It is quite a blast, and she is making the show for sure. And so are the creators as well. I think it's well written and it's well directed. It's all around. It's a fun show. It's a sitcom. It's playing out like a sitcom, but
pretty much.
But the kind of sitcom I'd want to see. All right. Right there. So that's our review of She-Hulk episode 3. We'll be back next week with episode 4, of course. And then we got Andor just around the corner. Oh my. And then we'll be doing both of those at one time. That'll hurt. And of course, this weekend is mentioned earlier in the show, D23. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of news, both about the MCU and about Star Wars. And probably other DC animated properties as well, and maybe even some things about the parks and whatnot, because it's D23. It's going to be a big weekend. I'm going to try to talk these guys into doing a D23 episode, talk about those news. But I'll see if I can shake them out of the beds to do it.
Yeah. Well, I just wish I just want to know more information about the Acolyte show. That's the main.
That's
Star Wars
the
thing.
only one, right? That one,
That's
right?
the one that I want to know more about.
There's so much I want to know about.
Yeah, there's so much, but that's the one thing where we don't have anything other than casting news. We don't have any real information.
That's true. But we could get some trailers for both Star Wars and MCU. But enough about that. Let's get out of here. Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Always fun.
Let's say goodnight.
Good night.